Okay, thank you for your time. I appreciate each and every one of you and all of the support that you lend me in any which way, shape, or form that you show it. What we're going to do here is continue on where we left off last time. I have a pretty solid grasp of what I have going on here. That was pretty much the goal. The world of balance is... Well, I'm going to be foggy on it when I finally go back to it because I haven't done it in a while, but that's okay. I probably won't be able to do it on the first attempt anyway. But anyway, what I have in mind right now is to put together a reasonable time for this segment, which is starting at the fish game and going to the final save. And I've done this enough now with this specific set of this particular order that I'm doing that I have it down pretty good. Typically when I play this game, I play a zero experience game or lowest level possible game, however you want to put it. But basically, when I get to the World of Ruin, the average party level is 6. So Celis starts off in level 6. Then I acquire the 3 characters that are mandatory plus Sabin, and then I go beat the game with level 6 characters, just the 4 of them. Setzer, Sabin, Edgar, and Celis. Those are the only 4 I use, and they're all level 6, and that's what I'm used to doing. But when you're using characters that low of a level, you kind of are restricted on what strats will actually bring you success. Just because those low levels, it's just not. It's a different kind of game. It's just the way it is. It's just a different kind of game. What I'm working toward is a personal goal. I have a goal of single segment run in less than 7 hours. For me, that will be very challenging to get that time. Oops, wrong one. But I believe it's totally doable for me. For someone who's like a professional speedrunner in this game, 7 hours is, sub 7 hour total is pretty poopy score. But for somebody like me who is not a professional speedrunner, let alone at this game, a sub 7 hour number would be a nice feather in my cap, I guess I would say. I don't know how realistic it is for me to be able to hit that goal without a lot of grinding. And when I say a lot of grinding, I mean like how many attempts, So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to get one single segment run in, which I feel pretty confident that I should be able to get that in under 8 hours. Like, I don't think that should be too much trouble. Um, Maybe I'm thinking a little bit too highly of myself, and it'll end up being closer to like 9 hours or 10 hours. I like to believe that I can do this in under 8 hours without too much trouble. Um, with the ultimate goal of sub 7 hour total. But we'll see. The first time that I do, because I've never in all the times that I've played this done a single segment run. Where I sat down, beat the game in one sitting. I've still, of all the times I've ever played this, I've never accomplished that, and that's always kind of been on the back burner as something I'd like to accomplish someday. And I've just never put the effort into putting together the plan and then practicing to familiarize myself with the different strats required to accomplish that goal. I've just never put the time and effort into it, so that's why I haven't done it yet. But that's the plan. I've got everything up to the final battle down, or up to the final save. I've got it down pretty good. We're getting kind of long here on time here. You gonna be good, Sid, or what's the deal? How much longer, Sid? Uh, I have it. I think I have it down pretty good. It's actually fairly basic. Um, it really is. It's not bad at all. But usually, whenever I've played speed games with this, they have been, you know, segmented runs where not only were they segmented, but I was using the in-game timer. So real world time was never anything that I was concerned about. I always just went for the lowest in-game timer at the final save. That was the way I measured uh, my time in the runs that I did in the past. But I'm pretty new to the whole idea of streaming, and I don't even know that I would consider myself a speedrunner. I like to play challenges, um, like a no sphere grid challenge, or Final Fantasy X would be an example, or a no Crystarium challenge for Final Fantasy 13. Or just challenges where, like, a game that I played that I enjoyed playing, and I want to play it again, but I want to come up with a way to have fun but challenge myself in a way that is different than what the tasks that the game places in front of you. So, like, for example, one thing that I did, like this is quite a few years ago, actually quite a long time ago now that I think about it. I think I was still in my 20s. I'm not that old, but anyway, um, My 20s does feel like it was a long time ago, even though it wasn't that long. It just feels like it was a long time ago. And, you know, it was a while back. I guess you could say... Well, let's see, what year did I turn 30? I always hate trying to figure that out. uh... So the year plus one. So... So without getting too specific about it, Obama was president. That gives you a nice range. It was not his first year in office. That's about all I will say. It was after that somewhere. But it was in the early part of his presidency. His first term. It was Obama's first term when I turned 30. So that gives you a rough idea about how old I am. Boy, doesn't that seem like a long time ago? Just Obama in general. That, well, kind of, I guess. It actually feels like Obama's in charge right now, doesn't it? I mean, all the policies are the same. So it's like Obama's third term. We're going through Obama's third term right now, basically. Something like that. Alright, so what was I saying? Oh, my 20s. So there was a game. GTA 3. And then, although it could have been Oblivion, it very well could have been. I just don't recall. I do remember the first time I ever saw Oblivion being played. I was at a friend's house, and I don't know how this exactly worked out. This guy, he was a coworker of mine, and I was over at his apartment hanging out, and his roommate came home, and he had a brand new copy of Oblivion. And I think it was my one friend, his name was Andrew, the guy I worked with, his name was Andrew. And if memory serves, I think it was Andrew's game, but for some reason I wasn't his friend yet, I never even met the guy, his roommate at the time. His name was Matthew, but or is Matthew, whatever. I don't know. I think I had met him once before, but I didn't know him very well, and I definitely wouldn't have considered him a friend. I mean, I didn't even know the guy, right? It's not like this coworker of mine were like best friends or anything. I just worked with him. You know, we kind of were hanging out, probably having some beers and partying or something. I don't remember. But for some reason, I was thinking that Oblivion was a brand new game. Like, it was still in the cellophane. But for some reason, I'm thinking it was Andrew's game. Like, maybe he had ordered it or something, and Matthew just picked it up for him. I don't remember all the details. But I do remember Matthew came in and started playing this video game. I don't think I paid that much attention to it until while he was, like, in the tomb. Or not the tombs, whatever, like in the catacombs or whatever, the sewer or something. I forget what they call it, the rat race or the rat way maybe. I don't really remember, but there's like it's basically the sewer system that's underneath Rome, right? Because that's basically what it's supposed to represent, I think. But Cyrodiil, isn't that the name of it? I think Cyrodiil is the name of the Imperial City in Cyrodiil. And under the Imperial City, there are these, like this big sewer system under there, right? Well, that's where you start off in the game, is down there. But, back guard and wall ring. You'll have to remember to take the wall ring off after the boss fight down there, because I always forget to do that. Let's save that smoke bomb. So I don't remember when I first started paying attention to what he was doing down there, or paying attention to the game, but I do remember when he first, maybe not when he first exited, but I think it was sometime during the process of him getting out of the sewers that we started as a group, whoever was there, I don't remember who all was there, started paying attention to what this video game was that was being played. And once he exited the sewers and was out in the real world, like, I was just absolutely blown away. It was like the first time that I ever saw GoldenEye 007. It was like the first time that I saw Super Mario World. Or the first time that I saw Super Mario Bros. Like, those were key pivotal moments in my life as it pertains to video games. Like, the first time I ever saw a Nintendo, I was at my friend, his name was Jesse, and I don't know, I was in grade school, that's all I remember. I don't remember what grade I was in, 3rd grade, 4th grade, something like that probably. Second grade, I honestly, I don't remember. Probably 3rd grade, that would probably be... I honestly, I don't remember. I really don't. I just remember I was at Jesse's house, and he had a Nintendo, and I'd never seen a Nintendo before. and he was playing Super Mario Brothers, and I was just like jaw dropped, like holy cow, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. And I kind of felt the same way when I first saw Super Mario World. I was at my friend, his name was Jeremy. I was at his house, and I think it was his brother-in-law. Actually, his family had like his siblings were like very. He was the second youngest. I think there were 5 children in his family, and he had a younger sister. But the older 3 children were quite a bit older than him and his younger sister. He and his sister were like 2 years apart or something like that. They weren't that far apart. But the older siblings were like probably, well, the oldest one, I don't know, man. Like, I think he was like 15 or 20 years older than my friend. And then the youngest of the original 3 siblings, her name was... You know, I can see her face in my mind's Jody. In my mind's eye, but I couldn't remember her name. She had a boyfriend at the time that later married her, but I think it was probably his console. Either he bought it or he rented it. I don't remember the details. You know, this was a long time ago. I was probably like in like 6th grade, 5th grade. I do not remember. I literally don't recall. I just remember that the first time I saw Super Mario World being played with like Yoshi and stuff, dude, that was way super advanced stuff, man. Like the graphics and the gameplay was like incredible, absolutely incredible, and it was like a jaw drop moment. And the exact same thing happened the first time I ever saw GoldenEye. Like, dude, GoldenEye and then Super Mario Kart to a lesser degree. Actually, I think I was at my friend Mike's house, and he had like Turok, the Dinosaur Hunter, and like GoldenEye and Mario Kart. I was less impressed with Turok. I thought it was, you know, cool, but GoldenEye though, dude, that was like earth-shattering, jaw-dropping cool. And I went out and bought well, you know, I feel like I had an N64 already at that time, because I remember playing like NBA Hang Time. I think I bought NBA Hang Time when it first originally came out for like $80, but it was like one of like 2 games that was available to buy at the time. And I think my N64 cost me $500. Now, if you think about that, you know, with inflation and everything, and you know how much that would have been back in the day, like that would have been quite a lot of money. But, you know, I was in high school and I had no bills. There were no cell phones back there, so like back in those days. Well, I shouldn't say that. There probably were cell phones, but not like no, you know, honestly, when I was in high school, the people that were higher up on the socioeconomic ladder, they didn't have cell phones, they had pagers. That's how that shit was in high school. People had pagers if they were cool, you know. That was the thing to have, was a pager. I don't remember when cell phones became like a... I don't know, sometime after I was out of high school. That's all I remember. Oh, I didn't check my GP. Ooh, well, this could be ugly. Gross. Well, if this had been my zero experience game, we'd be done right now. But it's not zero experience game. Um. Anyway, I think I might have been. I think I may have been out of high school at that time. I don't really remember, but I remember being at my friend Mike's house, and he had a bunch of really cool N64 games. And GoldenEye just blew my mind, man. GoldenEye blew my mind. Absolutely, just completely and totally. Come on, what a bunch of shit. That's my own fault. I didn't pay attention to my GP count, and so that's how easy it is to get wrecked. You know, one little thing that you forget about, and it's like, boom, game over, bitch. Uh, you know, I don't know. I can't keep track of these, the chronology of these things, because I have a memory. You know, maybe that wasn't the first time I ever played GoldenEye. Maybe it was a different first time. The first time because I remember. I remember renting GoldenEye 007 from a video game store. That's something that doesn't exist anymore. That's one of the great losses, just a great travesty that just doesn't exist anymore. Um, so, like, I was a teenager in the 1990s, right? And well, I think GoldenEye came out in 1997. Yeah, I would have been. I would have been like in high school. Okay. So, yeah. I don't think that was the first time I ever saw GoldenEye. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. I feel like it was. I feel like that was the first time. There was another first that happened that day, though. It was the first experience I ever had. Um, uh, Watching the music, I guess you could say. That would be a way to put it. Um, and that was really fun. Trying to play GoldenEye 007 while watching the music. That was pretty cool. But I do remember renting GoldenEye 007. And I remember, dude, the guy that was like working, dude, uh, he was like super, super, super baked. That's all I remember. Like, I don't even think he knew what his name was, man. He was just like ripped out of his mind. He probably just like went outside and smoked a joint on his break or something because this guy was toasty. And that's all I remember about it. But I had that game forever, like I rented it and like I had that game for a very, 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 very long time. Because that was kind of the thing that people did back then. If you got a really good game, you didn't want to take it back and lose any of your saves, and you could just pay late charges, or you could just call up the video rental store and be like, "Hey, I just want to re-rent this. When I bring it back in, I'll just pay my bill." And so long as you were I mean, Blockbuster probably wouldn't do that, because Blockbuster was like a corporate entity. And, anything that's corporate is sucks donkey ass, basically. They have shitloads of rules, and there's like no individual that has any control over, you know, okay, that's cool. No, you have to follow the corporate handbook, and this is the law, and it sucks ass. But there were some locally owned video game stores around town, and you can just call them up and say, hey, this is so and so. I rented such and such game, and it's due back today. Um, because basically you didn't want to get a late charge because I think the late charge was more expensive than like re-renting the game. So if you just called them up and said, "Hey, I rented this game. It's due back today. I just want to re-rent it, and then I'll pay you what I owe you, and I drop it off when I'm done with it." I do seem to think that this place called Video Action, they had a couple different locations in town, but it was like a locally owned thing. It wasn't something. It was not a corporate entity. It was just some local dude or family that owned this business, and so that's always the best thing to do, or the best businesses to deal with is when it's a locally owned business because they make their own rules, and they can be like, yeah, sure, we can do that for you, because they're in the business of making their customers happy. I mean, they want to make money, but it's they don't lose anything. I mean, they're making money by re-renting the game to me, and I'm going to bring the game back. So it's like they don't care who has the game so long as the game is generating income for the business, right? So rather than having a late charge, you just call them up and say, hey, I rented this game. I want to re-rent it. Just put it on my tab, and I'll pay for it when I come back in and drop it off. And some stores would be okay with that, and some stores would not be okay with that. Maybe it had something to do with how good of a customer were you, because they could check up on your account and they could find out, okay, well, this guy has been renting games from us for years, and this is the total sales we've generated off this guy. And he always brings his games back, so you know in a situation like that, they're probably more likely to say, sure, that's fine. Whereas anyway, um, like some businesses, some of the rental places were cool with doing stuff like that. Other ones like Blockbuster sucked because like they were always more expensive, and they didn't usually have a great selection of video games. I think Blockbuster was more like a video, like movie um, oriented rental place, and they were less focused on video games. Where Video Action, on the other hand, um, they had two locations. They had a location on the north end of town and a location on the south end of town. And the one on the south end of town was the best video game rental place I've ever been in my life. It was absolutely awesome. Um, they had like every title, and usually multiple copies, and definitely multiple copies of good titles. So like they were the go-to place for renting video games. They also had movies, but they were the go-to place for video games. That South Video Action, that place was the shit. And when I was in my early 20s, they were in this little strip mall next to a Domino's Pizza. And when I was in my early 20s, I worked at that Domino's Pizza. And that would have been, in the early 2000s, right? And sometime while I worked there, the ownership group decided that they were gonna, I guess they were maybe not making as much money as they used to, or people were like renting equipment or games and not returning it. And I guess maybe it was not as lucrative. I heard that the owner's son was dipping into the register. The owner's son worked there. Dude, I kind of get the feeling that the owner's son was the reason why they shut the place down, because I remember coming in there one time towards closing time, and the guy, okay, so they have like, 4 or 5 TVs in the place, right? And I don't know if they had multiple VCRs or just one VCR, but the guy's got like hardcore porn running on the freaking TVs, dude. Like, I mean, I was 20 something, so I guess I didn't really care. But, what if it had been a little kid that came in there? It's like, dude, I know it's close to closing time, but are you like addicted to this shit where, you know, you can't wait for 5 minutes to lock the store and then put your smut on the shit or what? Like, I don't know, man. If that happened to me walking in there, I would venture to say that was probably not the first time he chose to make that decision. And I doubt that I was. And he didn't even turn it off when I walked in. He, like, let it run. It's like, okay, dude. Like, I don't know, man. Whatever. I don't know if that was a contributing factor. They kept the North Store open for a long time, man. Like that North Store stayed open for probably another 20 years or 15 years at least after that. But that South Store, they closed it up. The North Store, they owned the building, right? They built a building up there and they owned it. The South Store, they were renting that place out of the little strip mall. So I'm sure that was part of the reason why they shut it down. They had their own building on the north end of town, and the north end of town was, I guess you could say, the nicer part of town. The north part of town was where, I mean, so I live in an area where I live along there's a sizable river that runs through the area that I live, and there is a development that is or was built right along the river, and that's on the south end of town. There's like a nicer golf course down there. It's very heavily wooded. It's beautiful, but those are like really expensive homes down there. Those are like multi-million-dollar homes. Doctors, lawyers, people that can wipe their ass with $100 bills, and it's not a big deal. But outside of that kind of pocket there along the river, most of the so I guess it just depends. So long as you're following along the river, those properties are pretty valuable, and the homes are generally speaking expensive homes. Um, But outside of and the river kind of winds around. So once you get south of town, the river kind of curls back around to the east and then winds back around to the south. So it's kind of winding around there. So the homes that follow along the river, they do wind along with the river. So you can't really just say south, but I would say the south part of town is the older part of town. The middle part of town is the older part of town, and then the north part of town is the newer part of town, and the north part of town is the nicer part of town. But as the city has expanded, which is quite a lot since I was a kid, and I don't even I live in a suburb, right? So like, I guess technically you could call it a suburb, but it's really just there's like not much in the way of businesses out here. It's like 10 minutes to get into town, but it's just residential out here. There are a couple gas stations, a couple churches, a couple bars, but like that's it. There's nothing in the way of like actual like, what am I doing here? Actual like commercial stuff. I mean, they just recently built a grade school out here, so there's that. Actually, I think they maybe did build a small strip mall somewhere. Like technically the town I do live in has been growing substantially over the last 30 years or whatever. But if you're on the north side, there's like a road that used to have nothing but a field north of it, and the whole town that I live in, it was on the south side of that road. Well, that's not the case anymore. The north side of the road has expanded like massively, and so because it's all residential out here, I mean, I guess I do know somebody that lives over there. I used to work with him, but I've never been invited over to his house, I don't think. No. And, he left the business that we worked at together before. Well, I don't even know if he was living out there yet. I'm not sure that he was. I'm not really sure. I wasn't living out here at that time, though. I think that's what, yeah. He was living out here, but I wasn't. I was living in a different town on the other side of the river. But, anyway, the north end of the main town, or the main city, there's like 3 towns that make up I guess if you want to call it a metro area. And then if you expand the circle out to being like, a 30-mile radius of a center point, I guess a center point being the river. If you make a 30-mile radius of the river, then there's like another, I don't know, a number of small towns. But where I live is just residential, basically. I don't know, there's probably like 10,000, 15,000 people in the town that I live in, but you gotta keep in mind that's a suburb, and there's well, I don't know. I don't know how many people live in the metro area. I'd say close to 200,000. It's not a big city by any stretch. Big enough where there's 3 Walmarts. Let's put it that way. That probably gives you a decent idea how big the place is. We've got 3 Walmarts in the area. And you gotta travel 100 miles to find the next Walmart. Outside of those 3. There's a Walmart 100 miles east of here, there's a Walmart 100 miles west of here, and then there's 3 Walmarts here. There's like a Best Buy here. Uh, who did I miss? Do I just really have to talk to the one guy or what? I don't know. So anyway, the north end of the main city or town, whatever you want to call it, has, you know, typically been the nicer end of town, newer homes, more expensive homes, except for along the river, which is obvious because that's high value property down there. But Video Action had built their own store, their own building up in the north end of town. So when they closed down the south Video Action, they sold off a huge amount of their inventory. Now, part of that was because they had an ass load of NES games, SNES games, PlayStation 1 games, you know, all these old consoles that were, you know, in the year, you know, we're in the 2000s, right? You know, it's the early 2000s. So they're viewing all this stuff as, you know, 10, 15-year-old, you know, old-ass technology, right? Who cares? No one is renting Super Nintendo games anymore, right? Because we're in the era of Xbox 360 and PS3, right? At that point. I mean, those are the consoles. That's the modern console is Xbox 360 and PS3. So nobody's renting NES games anymore. Nobody's renting, you know, SNES, PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2. That shit's old news. So they just sold off all that shit. And I got a few good games there. Actually, I think I bought my copy of this game there, actually. Sadly, I kind of missed out because they had a sale and I didn't realize. It must have been like on the weekend, or it must have been when I wasn't working when they first went on sale, and so I wasn't aware of it. And by the time I went in there to go, you know, buy some games, like almost all of the really good, highly, you know, sought after, valuable games were gone. I have to remember, when I get that gear, I need to sell that crap. And I did not buy, about the enhancers, I did not buy the Bard's hats. Which I can remedy later. Well, I'm gonna go back there and get them right now. I'm an idiot, and I'm gonna, you know, pay my comeuppance for being a moron. Oh, that's way back in Nokia. Ugh. Did I not buy 2 Bard's hats? Why do I not have any money? I would normally have a charm bangle too, but I don't anymore. Or I didn't get it because I was dumb and not paying attention. Actually, I should have just bought Gaia gear, but whatever. Alright, so that's what I get for being a moron, but I did buy my shit, so back to it. But anyway, that's one of the things that, from the 1990s, man, that was one of the great things that it was just lost, you know. They have a digital equivalent, which would be like Game Pass type of a thing. That's a little bit different. You have to pay a monthly subscription, and then you have a huge catalog of games that you can play. Really? How do I still fall prey to that? Maybe I do need to have the Bard's hat on. Or I should have a Bard's hat on. Or do I not? Do I have a Megas hat on? When I do auto-equip... Dude, I'm really, really surprised that that hit. Okay, Diamond Vest is... not Magic Block. We'll just do that. We'll do Optimum. And I guess we can put White Cape on her. I mean, that's probably not going to make a difference. Oh, we got hit again by it. Damn, dude. But they had this deal. And it wouldn't come into play in the summertime, really, because I was always outside playing in the summertime. But in the wintertime, it was like, you know, because I live in the upper Midwest, and, like, it's freaking cold, man. It gets cold. So once it gets cold for the wintertime, and you're in the dead of winter, January, February, that kind of stuff, even December. Although typically, well, I don't know. Some years, it's bitter cold come November. Other years, it doesn't get bitter cold until around Christmas time, but January and February are always cold. And it gets dark so early, you know. And when you're a kid, you know, your mom probably doesn't want you playing outside, you know, once it's dark out. Or at least my mom didn't. Once it was dark out, that's time to come in, you know. Although, you know, once you get to be, like, in high school, the rules change a little bit or whatever, but maybe even junior high to some degree, but, you know, you can't do much. Even if you're in junior high, there's not much you can do once the sun goes down. You can't, like, it's difficult to, you know, throw a football around or whatever when it's dark out. You don't really want to ride your bike when it's icy and it's dark outside. And bitter cold. So anyway, on the weekends, or definitely, like, if there was, like, a school break, you know, over, like, Thanksgiving or Christmas or whatever, you could rent 5 games for 5 days for $5. And so if you were carrying your wits about you, you'd convince your mom to let you go in on Thursday to make sure you got to the game that you wanted to rent. Or if you were really what's the word I'm looking for? Oh, I didn't. Damn it. Damn it, dude. Why am I so dumb? If you were really, so I'm just so dumb. I don't have the right gear on, so this just will take longer is all. If you were really shrewd, you'd even go on Wednesday. Have your mom take you to the video game store on Wednesday after school. And I don't mean like for a holiday break. You'd have to maybe do it a little bit earlier. But go and, your mom takes you there after school on Wednesday so that you can make sure you get the game that you want, because it's 5 days for 5 games for $5, right? So if you go Wednesday, that's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You got to take it back Sunday night, which is a fair deal because you got to go back to school on Monday anyway, and you're probably going to be forced to go to bed, a little bit earlier on Sunday night because you got to get up to go to school on Monday morning. And so you're not really missing out much there. Plus, you could get to play your game for a little while on Wednesday and Thursday night after school. If you played your cards right with your mom, so it worked out good. If you could get there on Wednesday after school, that would be best. These days everything's digital. So, you don't have to worry about your game being rented out when you get there. And you can have just Game Pass, which is probably what kids have these days. Because, it's, I don't know, what, $15 a month? I think? I guess I don't know what it costs. I don't have it. But, if you're a kid, that's a pretty good deal. Because you have a huge game catalog. And you just pay your $15, and at that point you're paying like 50 cents a day. But the thing with those kind of subscriptions is, though, it is just a never-ending money pit, right? You're on the hook. They give you a taste because these people, it's like $1, right? Give us $1, you get it for like, a month. Or you get it, for 3 months for $1 a month, and then they get you to wet your beak a little bit, and then you become an addict. And then you get, after 3 months of having this massive catalog, you become accustomed to that. And you're not willing to go back to not having that. And they've already got you. You are now a addict. And you're going to be paying for that subscription probably for at least the next 10 years. And, at the end of the day, it's not that much. What is that, like $150, $180 a year? That's not that much. at the end of the day. But I'm not really one that is very fond of digital content. When I buy a game, I want a hard copy of the game. For many reasons. One, if I decide, I've had enough. I don't really want this game anymore. I can it away. I can sell it. Whatever I want to do, it's mine. I have a hard physical copy of the game. It's mine. If I have a digital copy of the game, it's not mine. And you know how those end user agreements are. At any time, they can just simply say, oh, well, we're not going to support that anymore. So now you don't have a game anymore. There are people that have probably spent thousands of dollars on digital content that, as time goes on, or let's say they modify their end user agreement and they change the service, or they, even worse, sunset the service. And like DirecTV is, dude, that is, oh man, I used to work for DirecTV, right? I worked there for like 4 years. They pay pretty well. I got no beef with the money that they pay you. And honestly, if I lived in a region where the climate was more mild, that would have made the job better. Because, dude, working that job in the wintertime sucks ass. But I went to jobs where people had, like, this one guy, man, he might have had 200 movies that he had purchased, right? So if you purchase a movie on DirecTV, I mean, you can rent the movie or you can purchase a movie, okay? There's two options, typically. There are occasions where you only have one option, but generally speaking, you can rent the movie for, like, I don't know, it ranges from like $2 to like $5 or $6, I suppose. And then you have like a 3-day window basically to watch this movie. And then after that, then you lose access to that movie, and if you want to watch it again, you got to pay more money. That's just the way that it works. Or you can buy a movie. Now, usually if you buy a movie, it's like $20, something like that, right? And that movie is then attached to your account. And you can delete it from your hard drive if you want, and then re-download it anytime that you want and rewatch it. It's just attached to your account permanently, right? But the thing is, DirecTV is, dude, it's a dying industry. When I got hired there originally in February of 2018, I think I don't know, there was like 15 guys that worked there, right? 15, 1-5. When I left, counting myself, there were 4 people left. Meaning that when I left, there were only 3. And now, since I've left, another one of those 3, the longest tenured of the bunch, he's left. Which leaves them 2 guys to do the same region, which is thousands of square miles. Now, granted, I'm sure that they have brought in jump techs That's what they call like people that are from a different region that come up to a region to work for a given window of time, and then they go back home. They're called jump techs. Like for example, I jumped to different areas. I would drive like 400 miles and then go work in a different region for like 2 weeks. They put you up in a hotel, and you function just like you would at home, only you're just working in a different region and you're living out of a hotel. Instead of going home every night, you just go to your hotel. So I'm sure they've had to bring some jump techs, but everybody, starting after like the second year, man, like everybody that worked there, I mean, we all knew we were dead men walking, that, at any given time, we might get an email telling us, 2 weeks from now, none of you will have a job anymore. That was always something that we knew was a possibility because AT&T bought DirecTV. I don't remember what year it was. They paid $50 million for DirecTV, okay? What am I doing? When I left, it was valued at under 15. So it went from $50 million, what they paid for it, which was at the absolute height of its value. And when I left, it was worth less than $15 million. So, I mean, it just bled money, man. They were just losing money hand over fist as far as the value. Now, they were bringing money in, so it wasn't all bad, but the value of the company was going down and down and down the shitter. Well, many times they had different companies that were looking to buy DirecTV. There was talk of a merger between DirecTV and Dish Network. These things have never left the table. When I left, they had sold a percentage of the company. AT&T still owned a majority share, but they had sold a good portion of the company and operating rights. See, AT&T was buying up all these different companies under, I don't remember the guy's name. They had a guy that was the president of the company, and under his tenure, they were buying up all these different companies. Like they bought like Warner Brothers and just an assload of these media companies, right? They were basically trying to create a monopoly. And they realized, hey, we suck at running these other businesses. They're like losing money like nobody's business, man. We need to get out of the business of owning all these other businesses and get back to the business of what, made AT&T a huge company, which is phone shit. So they've been selling off these satellite companies or, parts of the companies. So there was this third-party company that was running DirecTV as a standalone company that was still technically owned by a majority share by AT&T. But AT&T was hands-off. At least that was the line. I always thought that the reason they were doing it was so that when they went to go sell the company, that they wouldn't have to deal with antitrust and monopoly problems because technically they weren't running the company anymore. And also, I believed that it got AT&T out from under having to pay. I got lucky, but a lot of people didn't. It got AT&T out from under having to pay pensions. So there was a cutoff date, and when they sold the company out to this third-party company, or when they sold DirecTV to a third-party company, everybody that started after a certain date, they got nothing from their pension. They just got told, suck a dick. We're not paying you shit. Sucks to be you. Now, I was hired like 6 months prior to that cutoff date, so they were legally obligated to pay me out because I was what the hell is the word? Vested, I think is. I was vested. I had hit the 3-year mark or something like that, so I was fully vested. And so they had to not only pay. Well, I mean, you would have got what you put in, but they wouldn't have had to contribute anything. They wouldn't have. They got away with not having to match funds. So they screwed a lot of people out of a lot of what they believed and what they were told was what they were working toward. So it was a real bullshit deal. But it was a way for, AT&T to screw people out of an assload of money and save themselves an assload of money. So it was totally bullshit. But what the hell? Seven should be good, is it not? 7 and 7 isn't good? I thought 7 was good. But anyway, DirecTV's bread and butter has been they have exclusive rights to NFL Sunday Ticket. So sports fans pay an ass load of money to have DirecTV services simply due to the fact that it's the only way, literally the only way, to get out of market games, unless you want to go to a bar, which is them having DirecTV. It is the only way to get out of market football games and the out of market NFL games. That is it. DirecTV is the only way to do it, and it's been that way since NFL Sunday Ticket first became a thing. In the 1990s, I believe. It was a while back. But that's coming to an end. This year, the 22-23 NFL season is the final year that DirecTV will have exclusive broadcasting rights for out-of-market football games for the NFL. It's interesting how lawyers can do things. Broadcasting rights are not the same as streaming rights. At least this is what lawyers have determined. So on some level, DirecTV got screwed because streaming was not even a technology that existed back in the day. So when they built this contract, it was basically ironclad because broadcasting was the only way to disseminate that data. I mean, it was over-the-air broadcasting or satellite broadcasting. That was it. Well, streaming now is another way to do it, and lawyers have concluded, or judges, or however it's been decided, that streaming is a separate entity from broadcasting. So, as a result, you have, like, for example, Amazon Prime now is going to stream Thursday Night Football games. But DirecTV still has exclusive rights to NFL Sunday Ticket, which is the only way to get out-of-market broadcasts on Sunday, right? Because the other games are primetime games, and they are a different classification. And NFL Sunday Ticket is only the afternoon games, you know, like depending on what time zone you live. But if you're like say in the Eastern time zone, for example, it would be the 1 o'clock game and the 4 o'clock game. If you're in the Central, it's the noon game and the 3 game. Those are the games that are broadcast on NFL Sunday Ticket. They don't have anything to do with NFL Sunday Ticket has nothing to do with primetime games. So Monday Night Football, Sunday Night Football, Thursday Night Football, Saturday Football, none of that has anything to do with NFL Sunday Ticket. Sunday Ticket is just the afternoon games. That's it. And it's the only way to get out-of-market games. And they're going to lose that. This will be the last season that they have exclusive rights to NFL Sunday Ticket. Now, that may not mean that they're going to lose NFL Sunday Ticket. It very well could be that it very well could be that garbage. It very well could be that, you know, they are just one of a number of teams or of outlets that are granted access to NFL Sunday Ticket. Like, for example, you know, your local cable company, wherever you live, they may be given access to NFL Sunday Ticket. I mean, it might be a thing that, like, like in the upper Midwest, there's a cable company called Mid-Continent Communications. I don't know how many states they service, but probably like 4 or 5 states. I'm not really sure. It's a fairly large company. Mid-Continent Communications, for example, they may have the ability to now broadcast NFL Sunday Ticket. I mean, if the NFL comes, well, maybe not. It wouldn't be this year, but starting next year, you know, they may make it. They may offer it to anyone. You know, any TV provider, any pay TV provider may possibly be able to just sign up for it and be able to provide that content. Now, what I would like to see is for the NFL to adopt a policy like Major League Baseball has. I think hockey and NHL hockey and NBA do something similar to what baseball does. I'm not sure. I don't really follow. I don't follow NBA and I don't follow NHL. I mean, I hear about players' names and stuff like that, but I don't watch ESPN I hardly ever watch ESPN anymore, and I just don't follow much outside of NFL and MLB. But Um, I would love for the NFL to adopt a policy that mirrors what MLB does, which is, you pay a one-time fee, and you can choose just one team, right? So, like, I don't remember what it cost this year. I think I got a deal. I think it was $120, and you get every single Major League Baseball game. Or you could have, picked just one team and got every game that this one particular team plays for a... I mean, the difference is negligible. You're better off just buying the whole entire thing, because it's like, get all the games for one team for $100, or for $20 more, get every game for the whole freaking season. And it's like, okay, for $20 more, like, that's not even a question about what I'm gonna do. What can you get for $20, man? Like, I'm gonna get the whole season if it's only $20 more. The NFL, if they and this is a streaming thing, you just go to their website, or they have an app if you want to use their app, but you just go to their website, and then you can just choose which game you want to watch. There you go, boom. I would love that, because then you don't have to have a subscription. You don't have to pay DirecTV $150 a month, plus an extra like $400 a year for NFL Sunday Ticket. Like, you don't need the DirecTV. You can just... I mean, DirecTV offers MLB Extra Innings, which is the same thing as MLB TV. Well, it's better, actually. Well, yeah, it is. DirecTV's MLB Extra Innings is superior. In fact, using the DirecTV user interface is a more palatable experience. It's better. I'm not gonna try and sugarcoat it. DirecTV is the premier television service. Their equipment, when it's working properly, which sometimes it doesn't, but for the most part, it does. And there's a lot of stuff that can go wrong with their equipment, but generally speaking, I would say an overwhelming vast majority of their customers have their equipment working perfectly fine almost all the time. Stuff goes wrong like with anything, and there's a lot of stuff that goes wrong with DirecTV equipment. Believe me, I worked for them for 4 years, or almost 4 years. It was a couple months shy of 4 years, but generally speaking, their shit works just fine. The things that do go wrong, there's a lot of things that can go wrong, but I guess I would say the more common issues would be something happened with a part on the dish, or something happened with a part of the cabling system. I would say that those are probably the two most common things as far as a hardware failure, as far as DirecTV equipment goes. Something having to do with the wiring system, or something having to do with the dish itself. Whether it be that the dish it's found itself out of alignment for some reason, or like the eyeball on the dish got a crack, isn't functioning properly anymore. There's a lot of things that can happen with the stuff on the outside, right? So there's the stuff that exists outside of the building, and then there's the stuff that's inside the building. But honestly, if it's not something having to do with the wiring itself or part of the wiring system, and it's not something that has to do with the dish itself or, part of the dish, it could be something that has nothing to do with the DirecTV equipment at all, like the guy that installed the equipment, which could have actually been the customer if it's an old system. Because sometimes, the older systems, were sold outright to the customer, and then the customer installed it, So sometimes it could have been like just a moron not knowing what he was doing. But sometimes a dish gets put up, and then over time a plant grows out, and then that plant disrupts the signal to the dish. I mean, that's not the fault of hardware. I mean, it may have been a poor choice to put the dish where they did, or it may not have been. I mean, who knows? Like, maybe they planted a plant later on after the dish was already there. There's a lot of things, man. There's a lot of moving parts with shit that can go sideways with DirecTV systems. Sometimes there is just a hardware failure. You know what? A box just has something go wrong with it. Just like any piece of mass-produced equipment, sometimes a part just goes out on it. It doesn't matter what it is. Sometimes shit just breaks. It wears out. I'm sure these things are mass-produced by machines, and maybe the solder was running low when a particular box was built, and maybe this one solder point just wasn't as strong as it should have been. Who knows, man? There's maybe I've heard stories where facilities that some of the equipment was manufactured in had some sort of a problem where insects got in the area. Now, it's supposed to be a clean area where electronics are built, right? But sometimes shit happens. And I've heard of like a insect getting soldered into a circuit board. Shit happens, man. When it's manufactured on a massive scale, things can happen. And I don't think that's unique to DirecTV and their equipment. Yeah, I think this is right. But sometimes a box needs to be replaced. That happens. I replaced a lot of boxes in 4 years. But the percentage of jobs where the problem was nothing other than a box needed to be replaced, and I don't mean like a client, because those clients need to be replaced more frequently than the actual main box. Sometimes it is the box. I think a lot of times techs get lazy and they're like, well, let's just swap out the box. I always try to make the box the last option. Well, not always. If customers had recordings that they cared about, so here's the deal, right? They have all these metrics, right? Because it's a corporation, everything's about metrics. And I have my metrics that, I can get bonuses from or whatnot, right? I got metrics that my boss can bust my balls for if something's low. But the way I looked at it was, I don't give a shit about my metrics. My metrics can suck my ass. I cared about the customers because, well, they're paying an ass load of money for this service, right? Freaking DirecTV is expensive, man. You spend thousands of dollars a year, easy. Some people spend a lot of money on DirecTV services, like a shit ton of money. But I would say that the average DirecTV account has, I mean, it's going to be a fraction, you know, it's not going to be a whole number. I would say somewhere between 2 and 3 boxes. Sometimes people only have 1 box. Most people have at least 2 boxes. So I guess I would say, and a lot of people have more than 2 boxes. I would say the average DirecTV account has 3 boxes. It might even be 3 point something. But keeping that in mind, once your first year has expired and you're paying the full rate, if you have a 3-box account, and you have the most common programming package, I would say your bill's pushing $200 a month. And then if you rent some movies sometimes, you know what I mean? Because it's so easy to rent a movie. It's so easy. All you have to do is press a couple buttons on your controller. Boom. You're renting a movie. And they have it set up a lot of times where it's a lot easier to buy a movie, I'll tell you. Sometimes you have to like go through a couple different menus to find how to rent that movie. But you can buy it, boom, really easily, usually with like 2 presses of a button. So let's say you buy a movie twice a year and you rent a movie, you know, let's be conservative and say only like half a dozen, right? So let's say, you know, over the course of a year, you either rented or purchased. You know, people probably, I worked for them and I bought 1 movie, I think. But you know what? I don't have access to that movie anymore because I don't have an account with them anymore. So that's the thing. You lose that money. It's wasted. Just like buying digital anything, you know. But so you have a 3-box system with the most common programming package, and then odds are you probably have something else, right? Like you probably have HBO, or you probably have some other specialty deal, right? At least half of the people, I would say, at least half, have something, even if it's only one specialty item, right? Like, for example, NFL Sunday Ticket. A lot of people have NFL Sunday Ticket. There's a lot of people out there, the only reason they have DirecTV in the first place is because it's the only way they can watch their football team that they root for without going to the bar. And it's more cost effective to just have DirecTV and watch whatever games you want from home than to go out to the bar. Because if you go out to the bar, you're buying drinks, you're buying food. That shit gets expensive. If you go by a per game basis, it's far less expensive to sit at home and watch that game on DirecTV than it would be to, for example, go to the bar every Sunday that month to go watch that game. You can spend easy. You can spend a whole season's worth of. So I think it's like $400 to buy NFL Sunday Ticket for the year. If you go to the bar 4 times, You get some drinks, you buy a couple rounds, because you're probably not there by yourself, right? And you buy some food. It's very easy to spend $100 at the bar going to watch that game. So in 1 month, you can easily spend more on 1 month of football games than it would cost to buy the whole NFL Sunday ticket for 1 year. It's just far more. Plus, then you're at home. You don't have to worry about, making a poor choice as it pertains to getting in a vehicle after you've been drinking. You don't have to pay for a taxi. I mean, all these things. You don't have to pay outrageous prices for food and beverages. You can go buy beer and have food at your house. You can have people over who bring beer and food to your house because they want to watch the game. I mean, it's far more cost effective. But you have to pay that monthly service fee. Now, a lot of people, the people that are shrewd about it and don't want to waste a lot of money, they'll just put, because you can put your DirecTV account on vacation mode for 6 months a year. So if at the end of the football season you just put your DirecTV account on vacation mode, you only have to pay like the bare minimum. Your DirecTV won't work, and they still screw you because they charge you every month anyway. Even though your DirecTV system won't work, they'll still charge you like $15 or $20, which is like the minimum service fee. But still, 6 months at $15 is a whole hell of a lot less than 6 months at $200. So what a lot of people will do, I don't know what percentage of people do this, because a lot of people just are lazy and they're just like, they don't even, the wife pays the bills, they don't even look at it, And also a lot of people, a lot of people, and this is what AT&T wants, they'll bundle their phone with the DirecTV service. That's why AT&T bought DirecTV in the first place, because they figured all those people that have DirecTV, they could convince them to switch their phone to AT&T phones, because they would give them this really, really good introductory offer. Which it is a good introductory offer, but after the first year, that introductory offer goes away. And they're upfront about that, but people are lazy. So after the first year, they're just like, whatever. So the bill goes up, whatever. They don't do anything to change that. They just like, whatever, it's too much work to switch, every couple of years. I'll just, whatever, screw it. And that's what they're betting on, that people will say, whatever, screw it. And a lot of people do. So now, not only are you paying $200 a month for your DirecTV, but you're also paying probably realistically, if you have like, say, a husband and wife plus, 2 kids, so you got 4 phones on your plan, you're probably spending $200 a month for your phones. So you got $200 a month for your TV, you got $200 a month for your phones. So now you're in $400. You're in $400 a month. Then NFL Sunday Ticket, that's another $400 for the year. So you prorate that out over 12 months. I guess that would be $200 for 6 months. Hold on. Where the hell do I get another Green Beret from? I suppose it was a different game. I didn't sell the Green Beret. $200 for 6 months. 200 divided by 3. Well, half of 200 is 100. So 100 for 3 months. So it's like another $33 a month. Plus taxes, so let's just call it $40 a month, right? So now you're in 440. Let's just call it 450. So now you're spending between your TV and your phone, you're literally in $450 a month. And that's saying, you know, a lot of people are a lot higher than that. That's saying on average, you're probably sitting at around $400 to $450 a month. Let's just say 400, because not everybody has NFL Sunday ticket, although a lot of people do. Let's just say $400 a month. That's freaking expensive shit, man. $400 a month just for your TV and your phone. That's the goal. And that's forever, right? Because people usually, once they sign up for those services, they become accustomed to them and they don't want to go back to not having them. That's why DirecTV gives you the first month, or cable providers for that matter. They start off, or internet service providers, they give you this low introductory rate and then they hike it up after the first year. And they continue hiking it up and continue hiking it up and continue hiking it up. And it's, you know, like the frog in the water that you slowly bring to a boil. But people get accustomed. And DirecTV, dude, I'll tell you, I worked for them for almost 4 years. I'd never had DirecTV before that. It sucked leaving that, because I got it for free, basically, right? So when I left, going back to not, because I wasn't going to pay them their normal rates. Screw that, dude. Hell no. I would, even if I had a job that paid me 6 figures, I would still struggle with justifying forking out that money to that company for what they provide, because they package stuff in such, and it's not just DirecTV. All of the TV service providers do this, because the content that they broadcast, they buy from companies that sell it to them in packages, right? So these packages, it's so much bullshit, dude. It's so much bullshit. These companies, like say Company A, right? Company A owns 20 stations, right? Or they own the rights to 20 stations. But of those 20 stations, 1 or 2 of those are the stations that people watch a lot of. Like, for example, ESPN, right? I don't watch ESPN anymore, but I used to watch it a lot. And it's probably still a pretty popular station, generally speaking. But because people want ESPN, there are a lot of men in this world who have cable TV just because of ESPN. And if they didn't care about ESPN, they would not have cable at all. But because they want ESPN, they fork out the money for that cable TV. But in order to get ESPN, they have to get this package that has like a whole assload of TV stations that they're never going to watch. They're never going to watch. So the content providers, the people actually that provide the content to the content distributors, they package their shit that way so that they can maximize their own profits. And then the content distributors, they just simply pass on that price tag to their consumer. The consumer, the end consumer, always pays for that shit. And it sucks because I would venture to say the people that pay for DirecTV, there's probably about a dozen stations or less that these people actually watch. Hopefully I didn't forget anything. I think I got everything. Oh, no. I did forget one thing. So, you know, they have 200 plus stations available to them. Half of which, and DirecTV is the worst when it comes to this. They say, oh, we have, 200 stations on this package. Okay. Well, technically that's true. But 45 of those stations, or 60 of those stations are pay-per-view. So you literally, they're just a subscription. So it's a movie channel that you can rent a movie from. But technically it's a channel that they give you access to. So, like, let's just say 60 stations are just pay-per-view. Then another 40 stations are like infomercials and just shit that nobody ever watches, that I don't even know how are even on TV. Well, honestly, I do know how, because the say company, for example, ESPN, right? Say the company that owns the rights to ESPN, they have, let's say, a dozen infomercial channels that are trying to sell you some piece of shit knife that was made by some child in China somewhere, that, they have like a 1,000% markup on this item that they sell on infomercials, and they package that as part of their deal. And every other content provider does the same thing, and so that then at the end of the day, the content distributor has 40 stations of just shit where people are selling crap that nobody will ever buy. Well, some people buy it, obviously, otherwise they wouldn't sell it out there. But it's... So then, out of your 200 channels, you're left with 100 channels that are actually, providing content, like TV shows or movies or whatever. But then out of your remaining channels that are actually producing content, another 25 of those are probably dedicated to hucksters, man. People that are like, give money to the cats, give money to the poor people in this country, give money to the poor people in that country, give money to the dogs that are starving. Like, so many just bullshit, like, give us money. It's just so bad. I'm going to try a different formation here, because I think it might give me better odds to not die in the tower. So now you're left with 75 channels that are producing real content that some people might actually watch. Now, half of those channels produce content that never, ever, ever you are going to watch. You're literally never going to watch anything that is on these channels. It's just nothing you have any interest in whatsoever. Period. You're just never, because it's just nothing that you would watch, you know? I mean, if you are a dude, for example, who has the DirecTV service because you like NFL Sunday Ticket and that's the only way to get it, you're just simply not going to watch the Hallmark Channel. It's just not going to happen. No way, no how. You just have zero interest in the content on the Hallmark Channel. But on the other side of that coin, let's just say that you are a widow or something, and you're like 75 years old, and you are never, ever in a million years gonna watch ESPN. You're just never gonna watch that. You have it. You have DirecTV because they have the Hallmark Channel, and you want to watch the stuff on the Hallmark. So it doesn't really matter, you know, who you are. There's gonna be half those 75 stations are gonna be shit that you will never watch. Which now you're down to like less than 40 stations, right? There's 40 stations left. Now, out of those 40 stations, half of those stations probably have content that you will watch sometime. Sometime, someday, half of those stations you'll probably watch. The other half, those are probably the stations that you'll frequent. So I said a dozen, but let's just say 20. Maybe there's literally 20 stations out there that, you know, in a 6-month period, you'll probably watch multiple times. So at the end of the day, that's really what you got there. Didn't I take the sprint shoes off of him? So at the end of the day, you're paying all that money for those 20 channels that you'll probably watch multiple times over a 6-month period. But realistically, there's probably only half of those 20 stations that... I took the wrong one off. There's probably only half of those 20 stations that that individual is going to watch regularly. Meaning like multiple times a week. So DirecTV, for example, has, it's called Quick Tune, I think. I guess I don't even remember what it's called. But if you press the up button, there's an up arrow on the controller. That brings up 9 boxes on the screen, and you can program your favorite 9 channels into those 9 boxes, and then you can very quickly and rapidly just press the up button anytime you want, and you'll be able to access one of those 9 stations. So you can very quickly switch between your favorite 9 stations. And speaking from experience, those 9 stations, I did not often deviate from those 9 stations. That's what I watched. Usually, one of those 9 stations. Now, if you have multiple people in your household, you're probably watching more, you know, than I did, because I'm just by myself. But you know, if you have a family, you know, each box can watch those 9 stations. So if you have each box is independent, right? So you can have 9 stations that are your favorites, basically, for each box. So if you have, you know, mom has her favorite 9, Dad has his favorite 9. Susie has her favorite 9. And Scotty has his favorite 9. You know. But then again, kids are far more likely to use streaming stuff than they are to actually watch TV. Although the son is probably more likely to watch football and stuff that you're not going to get streaming. I should put stuff in GoGo for his slots. Anyway, I'm saying it's expensive. It's really expensive. And you could... It doesn't have to be DirecTV. It doesn't matter if it's cable or Dish Network or whatever it might be. TV service providers or distributors, I guess. They are expensive. That's a bad room right there. Aw, man. We got lucky. I think that's a bad room, or a bad formation. And a bad room. Okay, you are... You're gonna fight Goddess. I will see you when I see you.